Hare Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Bol. Thank you everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So start with our prayers. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Chalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विषमानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले स्मृतराधानाथ समनाम्ने पादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले स्मृति भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य वाचालम मंगलम मंगलते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So thank you all for accommodating the adjustment of the schedule to Tuesday. So this is our first Tuesday class. We are continuing our discussion of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. We spent a few classes discussing the pastimes of Sripad Madhavendra Puri, as was discussed or rather narrated by Lord Chaitanya to Lord Nityananda and others at Remuna. The background, and of course we are discussing the next chapter today, which is the chapter number 5, which is entitled Activities of Sakshi Gopal. So if you remember the context of all these pastimes, the context is Lord Chaitanya after sannyas. He was guided by Nityananda Prabhu towards Shantipur. At Shantipur, he meets with Advaita Acharya and all the other devotees, including Sachi Mata. Spends quite a few days, gives his association to all the devotees, pleases their heart, and then finally, by the request of Sachi Mata, he agrees to make his residence in Jagannath Puri. So as he is going towards Jagannath Puri, attended by Nityananda Prabhu and 4 other devotees, Kunda and a few others, they go through various places. A few important places are mentioned. Places are mentioned. One of them is Remuna. So when they come to the temple of Khirchur Gopinath at Remuna, there is this very beautiful description of the pastimes of Madhavendra Puripad, the Guru of Lord Chaitanya. And with great love and affection, Lord Chaitanya narrates the beautiful pastimes of Sripad Madhavendra Puri, who is considered the first in our parampara to manifest the symptoms of Braj Bhakti. Very, very special person. So had a very, very beautiful pastimes. We can see in Madhavendra Puri not only the qualities of intense love for the Lord. Love is always not just a feeling or a sentiment. Love is always seen by the willingness of a person to undergo inconvenience for the purpose of pleasing the object of his love. So Madhavendra Puri was so willing to please Gopal, he went through so much inconvenience. He accepted the trip all the way from Vrindavan in search of Malai Chandan, went through so many forests. In those days, it was not just about distance or a flight ticket or a train ticket or something like that. People had to actually walk through dangerous terrain. Long distance travels would often be life threatening. As you're passing through a forest, you don't know if you'll get attacked and killed by dacoits, attacked by wild animals. In those days, there were tens and thousands of lions and tigers and wolves and other deadly animals in the forests of India. On top of that, besides the robbers and dacoits, even various kingdoms of the Yavanas, so many dangers. So Madhavendra Puri Pad showed his love to the Lord by undertaking so much difficulty for the sake of giving some uh, relief to Lord Gopal, who was feeling high temperature. So normally, if somebody is feeling a high temperature, in today's time, what we will do? This time, if the Lord comes in our dream and says, "Oh, I want Chandan from here and there," we'll say, "Lord, I'll just put an aircon, the altar, just turn it on, and you'll be happy." So in those days, cooling was the most elaborate way of cooling is through application of Chandan, because Chandan dries, it actually takes away the heat. Anyway, of course, we do this even up to this day. So we discuss this beautiful pastime of Gopal and Madhavendra Puri. So after having had beautiful association, Kirtan, Prasad, anybody remembers the name of the kheer of the temple of Remuna? Anyone remembers the name of the dish? Nobody remembers. Interesting. Anyway, let's see if any of you can recollect by the end of the class. You recollect, let me know at the end. So after the devotees headed by Lord Chaitanya left from Remuna, they were on their way towards Jagannath Puri. It is said that they traveled. There was along the Vaitarani river, there was a place called Yajapura, where Lord Chaitanya saw a deity of Varahadev, and the Lord offered obeisances. Lord Chaitanya visited so many prominent temples across India, and many of these places would dance very beautifully in Kirtan. So we are actually blessed. Lord Chaitanya has blessed so many temples. I have to say blessed, because he actually placed his lotus feet personally in so many temples, and not just temples of Vishnu. He has visited temples of Lord Shiva, he has visited temples of Mahalakshmi, he has visited temples of Durga to honor his devotees. The Lord is visiting. So anyway, after having passed through Yajapura, the Lord and the devotees reached the place known as Katak. I think all of you must have heard of the place of Cuttack. I don't know how many of you have visited the place in Orissa to this day. So it's a small town of Cuttack. And in the town of Cuttack, Lord Chaitanya and the devotees visited a very, very special, famous temple. And the temple is known as the Temple of Gopal. That deity of Gopal in that particular temple is said to be very, very beautiful. It is very beautiful. It is actually very huge. The deity itself is very huge. Lord Chaitanya was so happy when he saw this very, very beautiful deity, and he was chanting and dancing in front of this deity for a long time. And even though Lord Chaitanya apparently had visited this temple for the first time, Nityananda Prabhu, he had already visited this temple. Actually, Nityananda Prabhu, before he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had spent many years traveling all over India on pilgrimage. So he had already visited this temple, and at that time he had heard about the pastime of this deity of Gopal, who is now famous as Sakshi Gopal. Who's Sakshi? Sakshi means the witness Gopal, who bears witness. So Nityananda Prabhu said, I have heard about the wonderful pastimes of this deity from all the residents in this area. And Nityananda Prabhu, with great enthusiasm, started narrating the pastimes of Sakshi Gopal. So this chapter, 90% of this chapter is the pastime of Sakshi Gopal. Very, very sweet. So the previous chapter was the pastimes of Gopal of Vrindavan, the Giridhari Gopal. This is the pastime of another Gopal, also Gopal. But that Gopal was Giridhari, and this is Sakshi Gopal. So the story goes like this. The story is being narrated. This pastime is a real historical story. This pastime is being narrated by Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu, and the others. So it is said there were two Brahmins from the South Indian town of Vidyanagar. I believe this town still exists, Vidyanagar. And two Brahmanas. And they were going on a pilgrimage. They were both from the same village, and they were going for a pilgrimage together. And they visited many, many places. They went to Gaya, they went to Kashi, they went to Prayag, and finally they went to Vrindavan. Of course, all through this journey, amongst the two Brahmanas, one of them was quite elderly, and one of them was young and unmarried. So the elderly Brahmana needed a lot of help because, going from so many places to place. Sometimes you see, even when we go for yatras, there are elderly devotees and they need special assistance and support in the yatra. So this particular younger Brahmana took very nice care of this elderly devotee Brahman. Actually, both of them were nice devotees. Both of them were Brahmins. So after they reached Mathura, they went, of course, they did parikrama of the various forests of Vrindavan, and finally they came to the area of Govardhan Hill. They went around Govardhan Hill, they saw the 12 forests of Braj, Dwadasha Kanana, and finally they came to the town of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, in the village of Panchakoshi Vrindavan, there was a temple of Gopal. This place is very close to the place where in today's time, the temple of Govindaji, the one which Rup Goswami built, the red sandstone temple, it stands around that place. There used to be a temple of Gopal. Very beautiful, very huge deity Gopal with a flute. And very wonderful, gorgeous worship of Gopal was performed. So both these Brahmanas, they were having such a wonderful Tirtha Yatra in Vrindavan. Both of them took bath in Yamuna. They visited all these various places, Keshi Ghat, Kalia Ghat, and finally they came and took darshan of. After taking the very beautiful darshan of Gopal, they both took some rest in that particular temple. Both of them were so captivated by the beauty of Gopal. See, one of the things about deities which are worshipped very nicely with great love is that one can sense devotees, they can sense how powerfully the Lord is manifest in these places. And when the Lord is manifest, He is manifesting also His beauty, His sweetness. So both of these Brahmanas liked that place so much and they were so attracted by the beauty of Gopalji that both of them decided, let us stay here for a few days. So both of them stayed there, 2 to 4 days. And of course, all along, also during these 2 to 4 days, but all along this younger devotee was taking care of the elderly Brahman. And this elderly Brahman was feeling so obliged and indebted to this younger devotee. Because he was just thinking, he said this to this younger Brahman, actually, you're not even my relative. Just happened to be from the same village. You are doing so much service to me. Actually, you don't owe me anything. You are doing for me what even a son will not do so much service. Throughout my tour, you have been taking so much care of me. You have never let me feel any fatigue. And you helped me in whatever areas I needed help. You assisted me in whatever ways. So I'm so indebted to you. And I want to reward you. It will be ungrateful of me to not reciprocate if I do not show you proper respect. That's why I am offering to give you my young unmarried daughter in marriage to you. So the elderly Brahmana, being pleased by the service of the younger Brahmana, offered to give his daughter in charity. Charity in the sense Kanyadan. Because in our traditional Vedic culture, is said to be giving of daughter in marriage is said to be Kanyadan. So the younger Brahmana was a bit shocked. And the reason for the shock was because the younger Brahmana saw a very simple and not so well-to-do background. Whereas the elderly Brahmana was actually from a very aristocratic family from the town of Vidyanagar. They were very well known, they were very wealthy. Young Brahmana immediately became very alarmed when suddenly to his surprise, because he was not expecting any reward. He was just trying to serve the elderly Brahmana. He said, my dear sir, please, what is this that you are saying? This is very unusual. Such things don't happen. Such things happen only in Hindi movies. How come such a rich family and she will come to a poor man's house? Should have at least thought before you make such a proposal, because it is generally recommended that marriage should happen amongst equals, and there is a good reason to it. It's not a Shastric rule, but it is recommended because when you're from a similar background in various ways, monetarily, culturally, etc., etc., the transition and compatibility is so much easier naturally. Said, you all are aristocratic, you all are rich. I'm a very simple person. I don't even have very high education. I don't have much wealth. Sir, I am not a suitable bridegroom for your daughter. And I did not render service to get something from you. I am rendering service to you because I have heard. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasadu, that when we serve the devotees of the Lord, Krishna becomes pleased. I'm just doing this as a service to Krishna. Why are you thinking that you have to pay me something back in return? I do not have any such expectation. Krishna will be pleased by my service and Krishna will reward me with pure devotional service. That's all. And my dear sir, the young Brahman is telling the elderly Brahmana, irrespective of what you may think, now suddenly overwhelmed by your desire to reward me, please understand you have a wife, you have other grown up elder sons. You think they will agree with your proposition? Suddenly you are making this decision, you have not consulted them. Please think over properly. You are saying this, but they will put you into difficulty. They will not agree with your decision. One should not make such big decisions without consulting one's close family and relatives. Don't you remember the pastime in the Bhagavad of Rukmini and Bhishmaka? How much Bhishmaka actually wanted Rukmini to marry Krishna, but Rukma was not supportive. You see, so much problem happened. So we know, right? We are Brahmanas, we have studied scriptures, we have studied Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam also so much problem. What to speak of us? So please don't get excited and suddenly claim that you will do something which actually you will not be able to. Because as Brahmanas, as devotees, they are very conscious of what they say. Because once they say, I will do, they are very serious that they will do. They don't want to simply say. So, but the elderly Brahmana was very adamant. He was very determined. He says, no, this is my daughter. And I can give my daughter in marriage wherever I want. I don't need to ask anybody. Doesn't matter whether my wife agrees. Doesn't matter whether my children agree or not. I will give. So he got a bit overexcited. Nobody can say, don't doubt me. You please accept my proposal. I'm proposing this to you, but you have to say yes. So this boy was he was obviously not convinced. Because even though he was young, he knew the ways of the world. And he could sense that this elderly Brahmana is little bit getting carried away. Right? Sometimes husbands say some things in the absence of their wife or children, in front of others, their friends or other relatives in great excitement, but they don't realize that it may not be possible to fulfill that later on. So this boy really doubted this. So the younger Brahmana told the elder Brahmana, so if you are still, after all my explanation and after all the concerns that I have presented before you, if you still want to offer your daughter to me, then you take a vow in front of the deity. You promise me in front of the deity, I want Gopal to be a witness. So they came before Gopal and both of them took it very seriously in front of the deity, taking a vow in front of the deity. The elderly Brahman came in front of Gopal and said, my dear Lord, you please be witness. I am giving my daughter in charity to this young Brahman. And then the younger Brahmana looked at the deity and said, oh Lord, so now he has promised. So later, if there is any problem with respect to this promise, then you have to come and give witness. Just 1 minute. Sorry, somebody was here. So he told the deity, okay, you heard what he said. Because this younger Brahmana was very sure that something gadbad is going to happen later. So he tells the deity, yeah, if there is any problem, you are the witness. If necessary, later you have to come and testify. So anyway, all this conversation happened in front of the deity. Then both of the Brahmanas started towards home. Their yatra got over. huh? And of course, even the return journey, the younger Brahmana served the elderly Brahmana practically as if he was a spiritual master. Eventually, both of them came back to Vidyanagar, their town, and when they came back to Vidyanagar, both of them went to their respective homes. Now, all promise was done, yatra was done, everything was nice, nice, nice. But after returning home, the elderly Brahmana started feeling anxiety. Oh, I said something, I promised something. huh? Of course, not that he wanted to go back on his word, he started realizing the concern that the younger Brahmana had raised. That I haven't yet explained anything to my family. Now I have to tell them what I have done. So I must now disclose what has happened. So he called his wife, his children, and in front of all his relatives and friends, he revealed to them that this happened. This young boy served me very nicely. So I have promised my daughter, this girl, in marriage to this younger Brahmana. So all the relatives were aghast. Hey, what have you done? Huh? What kind of nonsense promises? How could you do this? Our daughter, in such a mahal, you are giving to a jhopadpatti wala, poor man. No, this cannot happen. This will never happen. He said, no, I have given vow to Gopal. They were very, very strongly opposed. And not only were they opposed and disagreeing with the situation, but when the Brahmana became insistent, the relatives, including the wife and the children, started telling him that if you marry our daughter to this particular person, we will give up all connection with you. Not only will we give up all connection with you, actually we will kill ourselves and die. We'll drink poison. The elderly Brahmana was in too much anxiety. I was trying to solve one problem, now another problem is created. So now I have taken a vow, I have to give my daughter marriage to this man, but if I do that, my wife and children are claiming that they will commit suicide. And he warns his family, he says, you all are not understanding the matter. If I now say no to give my daughter to this Brahmana, then you know what he will do? What he will do? You know what he will do? What will he do? He will call Gopal as witness. He has told Gopal that you are bearing witness if there is problem will come. Then can you imagine what will happen to me? Gopal will come. I will feel so embarrassed in front of everybody. My whole religious principles will become useless. It will be shown to the whole world that I have lied. So when the family members hear this, because the family members are not great devotees like the Brahman. The Brahman is feeling embarrassed that he will have to, his family is asking him to speak a lie and go back on his word. But the family is not bothered. In fact, the son is actually very happy. He tells his father, oh father, why are you worried? Because the son is thinking, where the deity is going to come to give witness. Just because you took a vow in front of the deity, is the deity going to come here to give witness? Brahmana has faith that the deity will come. But the family members do not have. So the son tells the father, father, you're worrying too much. You don't worry. You just say, when this boy comes and asks you, right now you don't have to say anything. If the boy comes and asks you, or tries to remind you, you see, I don't remember, I'm old man. I can't remember what I told you. So you don't have to lie, you just pretend you don't remember. And anyway, where Gopal is going to come? Simple, problem solved. So you're not lying also at the same time, The rest you leave to me, I will handle. Son is saying. Now the Brahmana was caught. Actually, he didn't want to agree to his family members, but he was put under so much pressure. And he was so worried that indeed his family members may commit suicide. Obviously, they wouldn't have, but he was worried that they would. So the Brahmana was deeply in thought the next day after all this conversation happened about what to do. And exactly at the same time, the younger Brahmana was also thinking, hey, what happened to this Brahmana? He was supposed to give his daughter. He has not yet come. Has he forgotten? So he comes to the house of the elderly Brahmana. He says, my dear sir, long time since we have returned back. I hope you remember what was it that you had promised to me. It's not that I want it, but you promised to me, you are Brahmana, I am Brahmana, we both spoke in front of the deity. So, I just want to make sure that you honor the word that you gave to me in front of the Lord. You remember, no? Suddenly you have become silent. Now you're not talking about this topic at all. Correct? This often happens between friends or relatives. You take money from somebody, lot of discussion happens. After that day, you don't see them, or if they pass by you, they talk about everything other than the money. So that is why it is said, if you give money to somebody, then better you forget it. Either forget friendship or you forget the money, one of the two. Or you may have to forget both. Anyway, so he comes in front of the elderly Brahmana, and the elderly Brahmana, actually becomes very embarrassed. The elderly Brahmana actually remains silent. He puts his head down. He doesn't know what to say because he doesn't want to outrightly lie, even though his son has told him, tell him that you don't remember. Suddenly, as this is happening and the elderly Brahmana puts his head down, the son of the elderly Brahmana notices that this young Brahmana has come. Immediately he comes out to manage the situation. He comes with a stick and he starts chastising this younger Brahmana, because he's from an ordinary poor family. Oh, you most degraded, you want to marry my sister? You've come here, marry my sister? I know crooks like you who trick rich people to marry their daughters. I know what you are up to. You are a crook number one. In fact, what I know is that when my father went with you for the tour, he had a lot of money with him. You made good friends with him and served him nicely so that you can loot his money. In fact, one day you gave him the dhatura poison and he became unconscious and you stole all his wealth. And then you pretended as if nothing has happened. And now you are claiming that he has given some promise to you. How dare you do this? In fact, rather than giving him what they had promised, the son uses the approach of actually casting allegations and casting aspersions on the character of the young Brahman. And the Brahman says, no, sir, nothing like that. I was just serving him. Actually, and as all this was happening, all the village people also started gathering. It was a big ruckus. This person came with a stick and shouting, and all village people were hearing. And naturally, in such a situation, a wealthy, respectable family, the son is speaking. Obviously, people felt that, maybe this rich people are wrong. Usually, this poor man must be having some wrong motive in his mind. So such doubts started coming in the people, and he was trying to explain. This young Brahmana was trying to explain. Oh no, actually, this gentleman, he promised his daughter to me. Now he is pretending as if he doesn't remember anything. You please ask him. So all the people who had gathered, they started asking this elderly Brahmana. Oh, Brahmana, if you have promised your daughter to this particular man, you should actually, fulfill your promise. What is the problem? You have given your word of honor. Now this elderly Brahmana was really in a fix. Didn't know what to do. So he said that actually I do not exactly remember making a promise like that. And as this was being spoken, the elderly Brahmana's son, he heard this and he immediately intervened and started pointing fingers to this person. No, no, he's the rogue. He's the rogue. This person is the one who is cheating, and and he started telling the people, "Do you think my father, we are from such a rich and aristocratic? Why on earth we will ever give my sister, his daughter, this poor man?" Young Brahmana said, "No, this Brahmana is lying. And I'm so sad that he's lying. He was a Brahmana, he shouldn't be lying. He gave his word. He was very satisfied with my service. Actually, when he offered his daughter, I only said no. He was going on insisting. I want to keep that. No, this problem will happen. It is not a good idea from rich family to poor family. You're giving your daughter. I told him no, but he insisted. Actually, my dear sirs, and he told everybody, it's not that I want to marry the girl. But he has promised in front of the deity, and it is only proper that the Brahmana keeps his word. I'm not attached to the marriage, even now. So I am not in disagreement with your son's logic. And in the sense that you all are from a rich family and I'm from a poor. I agree with that. But what to do? I gave that warning. But in spite of that, he promised, not only promised to me, he promised in front of the deity. I told him you will not be able to keep your promise. He still insisted, no, I can keep. Now see what to do. And he said, no, she's my daughter. I will give. He has promised. And he promised in front of the deity and he explains the whole story and he says, this happened. And I told the deity that later any problem, deity, you have to come, Gopalji, you have to come and give witness. The son immediately caught on to this statement. He said, is it? Okay, we will settle the matter. Go and call Gopal to give witness, matter over. Gopal will come, give witness, matter over. Done. And he said, correct, everybody agrees. He only said no. He told Gopal that Gopal will come and will give witness. So suddenly he put the whole game onto the younger son. Elder Brahmana was very embarrassed. But the younger Brahmana had such strong faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when all the village people also said, yes, if this was the arrangement and this was the agreement between Gopal and both of you, and you told Gopal like this, simple, you ask Gopal to give witness. Matter over, settled, panchayat over. Brahmana was not in the least bit disturbed because he had strong faith in the Supreme Personality of God. Because even the last time when they went in front of Gopal and they asked and they took the vow in front of the deity actually had agreed that I will come and bear witness. So it was not that they were just in front of the deity and they were talking to themselves. The deity had reciprocated and said that I will bear witness. So the younger Brahmana says, okay, I will call the Supreme Personality of God, because not so much an issue about whether I get married or not, girl. this family members have put this elderly Brahmana into Dharma Sankat. And I don't want this elderly Brahmana to be caught up in this sin of dishonoring his own words that he committed in front of the deity. So I will go, and I'm sure the Supreme Personality of Godhead will save his devotees from this difficult situation. So this young Brahmana immediately started for Vrindavan. He went to Vrindavan, he went back to the temple, he offered his obeisances to the Supreme Lord, and then in front of the Lord, he told the whole story. See, this is the thing, those who are advanced in transcendental consciousness, they have such faith that they see that the deity is non-different from the Supreme Personality of God. They don't see a murti. Pratima nahi tumi swayam Brajendra Kumar. That you are not just an idol, you are Krishna himself. And that's why Krishna reciprocates. Ye yatamam prapadyanti tam staiv bhajamyaham mama vartmana vartante bhushyata. So he went there confidently and told the Lord, after we went and, this happened, and you see now, big problem. And he tells the Lord also, it's not that I want to marry you, my Lord, you know my heart. This elder Brahmana has now got into such a mess because of his family members, And it will be a very difficult situation for him. He will be so pained if he is forced to break his vow. So please protect the religious principles of this elderly Brahman. And also prove that I am also not liar. Because right now they are saying I am liar. And actually I know he is liar. So you have to save both of our reputation and our religious principles. So you have to come with us. Come with me and give witness. So out of great compassion, the deity started speaking to the young Brahmana. He said, my dear Brahman, I hear what you're saying. I understand seriousness of the situation. So you go back home, you call a meeting of all the elders and the elderly Brahmana and everybody, all the family members. When you do that, in that meeting, you just remember me. And when you remember me, I will appear there and I shall give witness. You go there, go back, call them. Remember me, I will appear in the assembly suddenly and I will explain, yes, that he has, this was the promise, this was the arrangement, and that I will protect you. But the young Brahmana, he objected. He said, oh Lord, suddenly come there, suddenly appear in front of them in a four-armed Vishnu form. Then they will again tell me, oh, you said it was the Gopal deity and this is Narayan form here who has appeared. Again I'll be in problem. Why can't we settle the problem once and for all? I have told them, I will ask you to come. So you come with me to Vidyanagar. So Gopalji starts laughing. What is this? Don't you know, deities don't walk around. You're asking me to walk around. So the young Brahmana is smart. He says, oh, normally deities don't talk also, but you're talking. So if you can talk, you can walk also. So I know you can do everything. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittiman. You are transcendental. You are directly the Supreme Lord. So the Lord laughs. Fine, so be it. Since you're insisting that you want me as the Gopal deity itself to come. You don't want me to come in my transcendental form, suddenly appear in front of the assembly, in my four-armed form and give witness. You think that is also not adequate. You want me in my Gopal form. Okay. So we will make an arrangement. You walk ahead, I will follow you. You walk towards Vidyanagar, we are in Vrindavan, I will follow you. In my deity form, I will walk behind you. But I have a condition. You should not look behind. He says, how will I know that you are following me? No, my ankle bells will ring. Ting, ting, chan, 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 chan. You'll know that I'm walking behind you. So he says, okay, Lord. And also, such a long journey, you have to feed me every day. 1 kilo of rice you have to cook, put ghee and feed me. But you cannot look in my direction. And keep it behind, I will eat. Deal? Yeah, deal. Done. So the whole travel was planned out. And the Lord said that, okay, for you, tumhare liye, exception. Normally, I will not walk and go around giving witness, but this is special case and you are very dear and you have pleased me. So we'll do that. But if you look behind, no, then I will not, I'll stop. Wherever I am, I'll stop. I will not go ahead further. Done. So in this way, for a long time, the deity was walking behind. The Brahmana was listening to the sound of the ankle. Finally, after a long time, I do not know how many days, after many days, when the Brahmana comes very close to the village, he starts thinking that the, the residents have to see the Gopal deity only when they see that the Gopal deity has come. And actually, the Gopal deity is so huge, it is not possible for anybody to carry the Gopal deity and bring. If you are, I have actually seen this Gopal deity, taken darshan of this Gopal deity in Cuttack. We've been there a few times. Very huge, huge deity made of, in the transcendental form of a black stone. Very huge. So it is impossible for anybody to hold and lift and bring. So the Brahmana started thinking, oh, now I have almost come to my home. So let me do this. Let me quickly run to my village and tell all the people that Gopal has come. So he knew that, once he looks at Gopal, Gopal will stop moving. But he did not want Gopal to come into. He wanted the Gopal to be just outside the village. So he looked back at Gopal. Gopal was, true enough, he was there. He was just waiting. And he said, Gopal, be here. No problem. This far, you don't have to walk into the town. You wait here. I'll go and call all of them. Gopal stood there. He said, okay, you go. I will wait here. No problem. I will keep my promise. I will give witness. You go and you bring everybody. So this young Brahmana ran into the town. He informed all the people, Gopal has come, and nobody was believing. The son was also saying, what nonsense this guy is talking. Nonetheless, out of curiosity, all of them come. They all came, and sure enough, just outside town, on a hillock, the full huge stone deity of Gopal, which is installed in Braj in Vrindavan, just on the outskirts of there. The devotees and all these villages were so ecstatic. They were offering obeisances. They were struck with wonder. And they were amazed. And they were so stunned by seeing this extraordinarily beautiful form. And they were stunned not only with the beauty of the form, they were stunned that the deity had walked all this way just because this person told. So they understood that this Brahmana, this younger Brahmana, what to speak of his being a liar, is a great pure devotee of the Lord. Immediately they understood that he's a person of very great stature. And actually, Lord Gopal in that assembly bore witness in front of everybody. Yes, this was the promise. So it's not just that the deity came there, the deity came there and bore witness. He said, yes, this Brahmana promised to this Brahmana that God will be. So, of course, after this, the son couldn't do anything, his family members couldn't do anything. The whole village was there, the whole thing was exposed, and the religious principles of both the Brahmanas were protected. And then a very grand marriage ceremony was observed. In fact, after the marriage ceremony was performed, the Lord was there. The marriage ceremony was performed in front of the Lord. The Lord spoke to both the Brahmins, both the elder and the younger Brahmins. Said that actually I am pleased with both of you. Because actually, even though the elder Brahmana, he was put into a difficult situation, in his own heart, he never wanted to lie. He did not want to go back on his word. He was just too much emotionally blackmailed by his family members, and he was pushed into avoiding accepting what the reality was, what the vow was. But the Lord was pleased because he had full faith. Even the elderly Brahmana had faith that the younger Brahmana will bring Gopal and that Gopal will come. Because both were great devotees. And the Lord says that both of you Brahmanas, both of you are my eternal associates. You are my servants birth after birth. And I'm very pleased because both of you are very, very truthful. And I want to give both of you a vardhan. Please ask. And then both of them asked. It is not mentioned in CC what they asked for. I'm sure they must have asked for something wonderful and spiritual. But one thing they asked, the Brahmana said, "Oh Lord, our request is now that you have come all the way to Vidyanagar from Vrindavan, stay here only. There's no need to go back. That way, we all will get the opportunity to worship. And not only that, we will get to worship you, but your being here itself such a wonderful pastime that all devotees from all over the world will come here, take your darshan and hear about this story and understand how affectionate you are to your devotees. In that way, you will be glorified. Isn't it such a wonderful thing? So we request you to be there. So the Lord said, okay, good idea. Now that I have come here, I will stay here. So the Lord stayed there and both the Brahmanas continued to worship this deity of Gopal, Sakshi Gopal. The deity started to be known as Sakshi Gopal. And the fame of this deity spread all over the country, and many devotees and Brahmanas and so many pilgrims would come and regularly worship Sri Gopal. Very soon, the king of that area, the southern area, he found out about this deity because the deity became so famous and he became attracted. He came to this place, he took darshan, he was so attracted. He built a temple for this deity of Gopal. So then in Vidyanagar, this deity of Gopal was installed and worshipped for a long time. It is said, and we'll conclude in a few minutes. I don't think we'll be able to complete the chapter. So we probably need only 15 minutes, but actually we could. Let me see if I can complete. And maybe we'll just go 5 minutes about time and I'll try to wrap up the chapter. So the deity remained, Gopal deity remained in Vidyanagar for some time. In due course, many years later, the king of Jagannath Puri, the great king Purushottama Deva, is a great devotee of Jagannath, was insulted by the king of Katak. Not Katak, sorry. The king of Vidyanagar, the one who was ruling may not be the same. I'm not sure whether it was the same king or the descendants of this king, where this king had promised to give his daughter to King Purushottam Dev, but then when he went to Jagannath Puri and he went to see the Rath Yatra festival, he saw this King Purushottam Dev in front of Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra with a broom, brooming in front of Jagannath. Correct? In the ritual in Jagannath Puri is in front of Jagannath's Rath, the king comes and with a golden broom he does brooming to show his kainkarya, show his service attitude in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when the king of South India saw this, he immediately said, "Oh, this king, I was going to give my daughter to this king Purushottam Dev, but he's a sweeper. I don't want to give my daughter to a sweeper." So he refused the marriage. Then Purushottam Dev became very angry. He didn't become angry just because he was insulted. He became angry because the king of South India insulted Jagannath. Because the king was serving Jagannath, not understanding the position of the sweeper of Jagannath. Even Lakshmi is sweeping the house of Lord Narayan. Does Lakshmi become an ordinary maid servant? No, right? So the position of a servant, even the most menial service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is actually such a great transcendental blessing and a transcendental opulence. So King Purushottam Dev had become very upset, and then he took his armies and marched towards this king of Vidyanagar. Now that's a very elaborate story. We don't have time for that story today, but I think many of you may have heard that story. Lord Jagannath personally helped Purushottam Dev to defeat that king. And after that king was defeated, and the daughter of that king was married to Purushottam Dev eventually. Interesting twists and turns in that story. But he defeated him. But after he defeated him, it is said that this particular king from South India had a very special Manikya throne, a very beautiful jeweled throne. So the king, he brought that jeweled throne and he offered it to Lord Jagannath. And also, when King Purushottam Dev saw this beautiful deity of Gopal, he was also so attracted to this deity of Gopal. He prayed to Lord Gopal. Because he is a pure devotee. Purushottam Dev is a pure devotee himself. He prayed to Lord Gopal and said, "Please come to my kingdom. I'm inviting you." So probably at this time, the generations of the two Brahmanas had already disappeared. So the Lord is always very affectionate to his devotees. Now Purushottam Dev is calling me. That time the two Brahmanas called me. Now Purushottam Dev said, "Okay, I'm coming with you. Let's go to, with you back to your place." So in that way, the king Purushottam Dev arranged for the Gopal deities to be moved from Vidyanagar to Katak, where they are still standing today. And a nice temple was made by the king as a home for. The temple is not a very big temple. The temple of Sakshi Gopal is not so huge, but he built a suitable temple for the deity. And very wonderfully, the king made all arrangements for worshipping the deity of Gopal. The queen of King Purushottam Dev, she had a lot of affection for this Gopala deity. She wanted to present a pearl. She had a very beautiful pearl, very opulent, very expensive pearl. And that pearl was something which, would be put in her nose. Ladies would, in olden times would have a hole in the nose in which they would put a nose ring. So somehow this wife of King Purushottam Dev had this desire that, "Oh, I wish I can offer this to Gopal. But I can only offer this to Gopal if Gopal has a hole in his nose. But how the deity will have a hole in the nose?" So she was feeling sad. So that night, Gopal came in the dream of the queen. And Gopal told the queen, "When I was a small boy, that time Mother Yashoda had put a hole in my nose. Right now, actually not very visible. But you come and see me tomorrow closely, you will see the nose. So, actually you can offer that nose ring. I kind of like it. So I will accept it. You come and offer." So next day she went and they observed closely in the deity, and true enough, there was a hole in the nose of the deity, and she offered great love. She offered that pearl there. So since that time, the deity is situated in Katak, and he is famous as Sakshi Gopal. So this pastime, entire pastime, was narrated by Nityananda Prabhu to Lord Chaitanya, the devotees. And all of them became so happy. Lord Chaitanya was sitting in front of Sakshi Gopal and remembering these beautiful pastimes. And all the pujaris and other Sevaites who were sitting there, they were looking at Gopal and they were looking at Lord Chaitanya. And everybody was thinking, don't both of them look alike? This Gopal who's standing here and this sannyasi who's sitting here, both are having huge forms. Both are having effulgent bodies. Both are having lotus-like eyes. It seems it's the same person standing on the altar and the same person sitting here in front. And Nityanand Prabhu in his heart was laughing because obviously he knew that the one who is Gopal is same as Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya danced great ecstasy in front of the Gopal deity. So that night, Lord Chaitanya stayed in the temple, and the next day morning, after taking darshan of the deities during Mangal Arati, the Lord continued on from Katak further. From Katak, the Lord and the devotees then went to Bhuvaneshwar. Bhuvaneshwar is where the beautiful Lingaraj temple of Lord Shiva is located. So Lord Chaitanya went there and he took darshan of Lord Shiva there. Then from there, the Lord and the devotees traveled further and they reached a place known as Kamalapura. Now, Kamalpur is a small village which is close to Jagannath Puri, on the border but close to Jagannath Puri, and there is a small river known as the Bhargi Nadi which flows. So there a very special pastime happened, and I'll just narrate. It's a very small but very sweet pastime, and we'll conclude with that as the chapter ends. Lord Chaitanya came to that particular Nadi and he was with Nityananda Prabhu and he wanted to take his bath, and he told Nityananda Prabhu, I'm keeping my clothes here, you hold my danda, sannyas danda, I'm going and taking bath. So Lord Chaitanya took his bath and then he got dressed and then he went to, there was a temple of Lord Shiva known as Kapoteshwar Mahadev. So we were fortunate many years ago, we have been to that place where the Bhargi Nadi, where Lord Chaitanya took bath, we have taken darshan of Kapoteshwar Mahadev. So Nityananda Prabhu, as Lord Chaitanya was so absorbed in the ecstasy and dancing and chanting, Nityananda Prabhu actually broke the sannyas danda of Lord Chaitanya into 3 pieces. Because Lord Nityananda in his heart was thinking, why Lord Chaitanya has to carry around danda? Is he an ordinary sannyasi? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This danda business is only for neophyte sannyasis. Lord Chaitanya is Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does it? And that too, this is Eka danda. It is carried by the Advaitist. Shankarites. By Lord Chaitanya. So actually he very intelligently broke it into 3 pieces. And Lord Chaitanya was in ecstasy. He was, dancing and this and that, and Lord Chaitanya did not immediately realize that the danda had gone missing. So after taking darshan and everything, Lord Chaitanya and others, they came to the point which is known as Atharnala. Actually, Lord Chaitanya, even before he came to Atharnala, Lord Chaitanya, after taking darshan of Kapoteshwar Mahadev, from far distance, Lord Chaitanya could see the temple of Lord Jagannath. In those days, I think right now it is probably that darshan is not possible. In those days, from that place itself, one could see the chakra of Lord Jagannath. And Lord Chaitanya was so in ecstasy seeing the darshan of the chakra of Jagannath. Because it is said that seeing the chakra of Jagannath is considered as good as taking darshan of Jagannath. And the Lord was in so much ecstasy. As he was taking this darshan of the chakra, he was dancing along the road, jumping in ecstasy. He practically lost all external consciousness, crying and dancing and rolling and making all kinds of sound. The temple actually was around 6 miles away, but for the Lord, his mood of feeling intense separation from Jagannath, to the Lord, it seemed like many thousands of miles away. So walking like this, jumping and dancing and crying, the Lord came finally to a place known as Atharnala. So Atharnala is a bridge over a river, and Atharnala means 18 arches. So that place is still there. That place is considered kind of the border of Jagannath Puri. And usually when we enter Jagannath Puri, we offer obeisances to the Dham at the place of Atharnala. Maybe some of you may remember when we also went to Jagannath Puri, we got off from our car and we offered obeisances at the Atharnala. From Atharnala, you can see Jagannath's chakra also. So when the Lord came to Atharnala, he was also in so much ecstasy. But somehow the Lord at Atharnala, he came into external consciousness. And then he suddenly remembered, oh, where is my danda? So then he turned to Nityananda. Nityananda Prabhu, please give me back my danda. I gave to you some time ago near the Bhargi Nadi when I was taking bath. Oh, danda, danda, danda. Oh, yeah, danda. Oh, Lord Chaitanya, you know what happened? Was, you were in ecstasy, you were jumping, dancing, and I was jumping, dancing, and suddenly you fell on the danda, I fell, and the danda broke to multiple pieces, and nobody knows where it has gone. So it's okay, no need to worry about the danda. So Lord Nityananda made up a story like that. It broke under our weight. So I'm so sorry. Actually, it is my mistake. It's my offense that the danda. So if you want, you can punish me in whatever way you want. So Lord Chaitanya heard that story. The Lord actually expressed his sadness. He also showed a little bit of anger. And he told all the devotees, including Nityananda, I am thankful that you all have brought me up to Nilachal, up to this point. But the only possession that I had, which was the danda, you all have broken. You have not taken care of it. So now, from here on, my journey to Jagannath Puri, I am going to go alone. Either you go in front of me or you go behind me, but you will not come with me because you're breaking my danda. I cannot trust you anymore. So Mukunda Datta, who was part of the group, he told Lord Chaitanya, no, Lord, we will not go ahead. Better you go ahead. We will follow behind you. So after this, Lord Chaitanya, very rapidly, he started walking towards Jagannath's temple. So he went in front and Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda and other devotees started walking from behind. Of course, Lord Chaitanya in his heart knew why Nityananda Prabhu did what he did. But externally, to set the right standards of behavior, expressed displeasure with what Nityananda Prabhu had done. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, as this chapter concludes, he says that the pastime of the breaking of the danda is actually very deep. Only one who has devotion which is fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda can understand this pastime. Of course, we have explained the way Acharyas have explained based on how we have understood it. But the thing is, we can understand it only by the blessings of God Nityananda. The chapter concludes and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives a special benediction. He says, one who hears this narrage of Lord Gopal, the Sakshi Gopal's pastime, with faith and love, very soon will attain the lotus feet of Lord Gopal. Haribo. And in that way, he concludes the chapters saying, praying at the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their steps. Sakshi Gopal ki jai. Thank you very much. 10 almost. Thank you for tolerating and staying on. So hopefully you enjoyed this very beautiful pastime. So these are all places which, if you go to Puri, you must visit. We have been fortunate. I have visited Sakshi Gopal at least twice, if not more than that. It's a bit distance away from Jagannath's temple. It's a few hours drive, but it's a very sweet place. So Remuna, Sakshi Gopal, these are all very beautiful, special places. So any comments, questions, anybody wants to share or say anything before we conclude? So after this chapter, because this chapter and the last chapter were pastimes of Madhavendra Puri, and this is about Sakshi Gopal. Now, from the next chapter onwards, now the Lord has just entered Jagannath Puri. So now going forward, the pastimes will be directly focused on Lord Chaitanya and his pastimes. So now going forward, the story will be how Lord Chaitanya entered Puri, how he took darshan of Jagannath, what happened next. The next immediate chapter is his interaction with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So all that we'll discuss, very, very sweet. So there are quite a few prominent devotees. One amongst them was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the Rajguru, the king of Orissa, Prataprudra Maharaj. So going forward, most of the pastimes, actually more, the entire Madhya Lila is all about the Lord's various pastimes and his various travels and his various interactions with various. Okay, so thank you very much. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Sambhavita Gaur Bhakti ki. So we will continue this class on Tuesdays and Saturdays. By the way, if you missed the class, we have started our discussions on universal cosmology, Bhagavad cosmology. So it's a very interesting topic for those who like these kind of discussions, the universal structure, various planets, how things are situated. So we just began that topic. So we'll be continuing that conversation. So another at least 10, 11 classes will be focused around that topic. That will lead us to the conclusion of the 5th canto. So please stay tuned. Other than that, I don't think there's any other announcement which comes to my mind. I hope you had a nice Nan Yatra celebration wherever you are. Yeah, Ekadashi is there next week, I think 15th or 16th, something like that. We will post about that as we come closer to the day. Okay. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Samadhi.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shridarji, Sudhir
Thank you,
Ji.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Shraddhaji, Hare
Prabhuji, Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Nice to see you. Snehaji. Amit
Hare
Haribol,
Krishna.
nice to see you. Your video on.
Great. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hari Hari, Indulika Mataji, Jaji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Shalini ji, Archana ji, Haribol, Haribol. You look very happy. Good. Okay, so I will see you all on Saturday.